Hello, Be Awesome listeners. This is episode 69, Keeping It Local, back in Easton with an Easton resident and someone I just got the pleasure to get to know over the weekend and a pre-call here. Really excited. I think incredibly timely on some of the things that we're going to talk about. JoAnne Woods Young, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me today, Josh. I appreciate it.
Well, my pleasure. And I got to tell you, you've got a long list of accomplishments here over the last few years. So tell us a little bit about, how you got to Easton, what you do in Easton and around Easton, and some of the different specialties that you have in your day-to-day work life.
Okay. Thanks for asking the question. I grew up in Bridgewater, and my husband grew up in Brockton. So we met after we both kind of traveled a little bit and lived in different places, and we met back here in the area through a mutual friend. So we ended up just settling here in Easton. We were looking for homes in Brockton. Not Brockton, Bridgewater, Norton. And we found our house here in Easton. And I was a high school guidance counselor, and I just completed 2 years of doing my internship at Oliver Ames. So I kind of started to know the community a little bit more. I got to know the students, and that's kind of how we landed in Easton. And so I was a high school counselor, and I'd been working with students for a very long time. My first job out of college, I was a recruiter for a small private college, and I did presentations, and then I did admissions work with the students. So I've always loved students. And after I was a guidance counselor at Southeastern Regional for a couple of years, I left there to have my son, and I went on maternity leave and didn't go back. So I started my own business of counseling, stress management with adults, and a lot of energy work with adults. And then I kind of started moving it more into students.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So your focus is mainly on kids. What age group are they?
Well, anywhere. So I started, when I had my son, this is what happened truly, is I started getting prepared. Okay, I want to have everything in line. So if he needs, this, so I started doing meditation certification. I've been teaching adults meditation for years, but I got certified to teach children ages 5 and up. And then I got certified to teach kids yoga, all these things that I could implement into my son's world. Mm-hmm. And my son ends up being a very chill kid. So he was a great student when he was young, like 5, 6, but now he's done with all my classes. So I just thought that kids would be really needing these resources. Working with students in the schools, I saw how stressed out they were. I saw all the things that started with them very early. And so that's kind of what I wanted to help my son with, but he never experienced some of the things I saw other students experience. So I just wanted to learn these things to help. Because again, I've been working with adults, for 25, 30 years, and it's very easy to teach adults, a little bit more difficult to teach children. So I wanted to be the person to help them with these things that can really help them shift their mindset, help them be better in all ways.
Yeah. And you were in Easton when you first started. So you were with the world's greatest godmother, Elaine Mahoney. I have to name drop.
Absolutely. Elaine was amazing.
Yeah.
When I did my internship at OA, Elaine was the guidance secretary, and she took very good care of us. The first thing when we would come in the morning, Elaine would say, "Are you ordering lunch today?" And then she'd take our lunch order.
Yeah. Oh yeah. She was traffic control. She basically had, she covered the doorway to the single bathrooms, right? Yeah. That's a high traffic area right there.
Right.
The only single bathrooms, single person bathrooms in the entire high school were by her desk. So she controlled the keys of the castle. That's so right. Yeah. So you learn a lot quickly in that corner.
Right.
So you chose to work with kids. This is extremely timely because a lot of what you're practicing focuses on, I don't know what the right word is, relieving stress, relieving anxiety. Is that a right?
Definitely. Okay. Management, learning how to cope, learning how to manage, skills, things that you can do every day to shift yourself, all of those things. So yes.
what are you seeing right now? Like, I mean, what are you seeing? Outside of the news, what are you feeling? What do you sense? Like, what do you predict? Like, I do a lot of working with reoccupying buildings in my day job. So on the actual buildings themselves and the operation side of it, I don't do a lot of work with understanding the psychological focus on what it's going to be like for kids to go back to school or go back to some form of normalcy. Everything that's going on in the news right now is scary. You can only imagine what these kids that don't have experience have to be feeling right now.
Right. It's tough. I mean, especially for students that deal with mental illness or have any kind of anxiety to begin with, it's much worse for them right now. I think a lot of students that I've seen in my private practice, that this is what I'm seeing, is it's worse. They've gotten to the place where they're scared of everything and they're becoming different. They need to be worked with differently. They need to be reminded by their parents all the time. They need to kind of really get into that space of, you can never ever control what's out here. This is what students need to learn early. Once you can learn that,
Mm-hmm.
you can only control what goes on here. So that's what we work with all the time, is trying to help everybody, kids, adults. You can only control your sacred inner space and your inner world. The rest of this is always going to be something different. It's always going to be something happening outside of us. But once you can learn the skills to really come within, that really shifts everything. And with kids, it is a little bit more difficult because they have to kind of overcome the fear. Then they're not in control of their own world as it is, because they're only children. But we can really help them by teaching mindset, meditation, how to become calm, how to work with your thoughts, looking at thoughts. All of those things have been really helpful.
Yeah, you're hitting like all these different points. For me, and you and I spoke for the first time Saturday morning. I have taken we've got about 500 or so employees at Dude Solutions, my day job that I refer to,
Yeah.
and a large percentage of them are under the age of 30. And so I talked to a number of them specifically on Friday, and I was listening to them, and if you're 30 or under, you've literally had no professional responsibility. You've had no self-professional responsibility in the working world during any major dilemma, right? Because the most recent one that they would really be impacted or affected by would be the worst recession in history, which started in somewhere around '07 and kind of culminated and came to a not as serious in 2010. But basically from 2010 to 2020, we've had the Iraq-Afghanistan war going on forever, but it wasn't the impact of the initial 9/11 or any of that. These young folks, they don't have experience in dealing and handling these things. And I can just imagine children or kids. I've got a 13-year-old and a 2.5-year-old, and I'm very lucky. You're talking about your son being very chill, and because of your meditation yoga, ours is just very chill. We didn't give him any meditation or yoga. He does some meditation at his school, but he's a very chill kid, and he's adjusted, and he likes us, so he likes being around us. I think if he had his way, he could just stick around all the time. But a lot of these kids, the desocialization, I don't even know if that's a word, I just created it if it isn't, but kind of the desocialization, like that they're isolated, or the fact that they have to walk in a certain direction and target, like all this stuff seems trivial to most, but some of it could be just such a massive impact to kids, right? I mean, is that
Absolutely. Lots of kids, though. Here's the other side of it. So I see my friends' kids, my son's friends, you know, these kids I see very resilient, very much going with the flow, not really like just wanting to get back to normal,
mm-hmm,
maybe not doing their best work in school. Maybe that's a symptom, maybe not sleeping on the same schedule, like being off their schedule. But most of them that I see are just want to get back. It's
mm-hmm,
almost like some of them don't seem affected. Some of them are so resilient at this age of
yeah,
12, 14, 14. They can just roll with it and be
mm-hmm,
fine. And that, I feel like hopefully that's more of the majority than it is, because you have to just kind of see everybody is different and do the best you can for each child and each person in the situation that you're facing.
yeah. I'll tell you, I think that if I were to guess, the hardest challenge age groups are the transition groups, right? So like the the juniors and seniors. Like the seniors, there's no way. I mean, I saw the Oliver Ames videos that the students are putting out. I mean, it's just absolutely amazing, but it's heart wrenching because, even though they're putting on a strong face, there still has to be that part, like no prom, like graduation's August 1st if they're going to have it, like all these things that they look forward to. And then from a junior's perspective, they're like, oh great, this didn't happen for my senior year, but what if it comes back? And like that worry and that angst, they're going from whatever the transition of second to third grade, going from the big person on campus in second grade at center school to being the beginner in third grade at the Olmsted Richardson School, or the transition. That's, I don't know. I'm not an expert on it, but that, what I would imagine would be where
That's like that could not be more perfect the way you said that, because that is exactly what my son said. I said, so tell me, we were just driving in the car last week or 2 weeks ago. I said, so tell me your thoughts exactly. How do you think this has affected you? What do you feel about this? He said, this is how I look at it, Mom. I'm in 7th grade. This is the perfect time. He said, I got to come in at 6th grade. At Easton Middle, it's 5th, 6th, 7th. So I got to be, 6, 7, 8. I got to be in 6th grade. Now this year I'm in 7th grade. No big deal. Next year I'll be in 8th grade and things will be fine and I'll be able to graduate. And so it really didn't affect me. He said, I feel bad for the 8th graders and I feel bad for the 6th graders. And I was like, wow, that's good perspective, my friend, recognizing those important transitions, and that, that kind of stuff is really tough.
And you don't get it back, unless you do what I did and stay back, which is cool. I mean, that's fine too. Graduated at 38, so what are some of the things that you do as far as, you do meditation, yoga? What else do you incorporate other things into your programs?
Yeah, what I'm really working on now is getting like a mindset shift program going for students. I've been working on it and I do it in a lot of the presentations that I've done.
Mm-hmm.
I did speak to the entire student body at OA. I think it was that 2018 or 2019, right before school vacation. And I did do a lot of the things that I do with this, adding like mindset, but mindset is really what saves us all. It's really the thought work, looking at what we're thinking, looking at the thoughts, how they're affecting us, because we're all only ever feeling our thinking. So if we can get a hold of that and even just look at that with children, that is the best way to help them really, because meditation is great, yoga is great too, but it's the thoughts that are running us that cause the fear, cause the anxiety, and cause all the what ifs. So we have to really work on that. And that's what I'm really focused on, trying to take all the stuff I've done with adults and the things that I know really work well and kind of bring them down to the level for children so that they can get it at a much earlier age. That look at what you're thinking, and that's where you'll help yourself feel so much better.
Yeah, that is that kind of like, is there any resemblance to mindful meditation in that mindset?
That too, sure, that's part of it too. Like just being mindful of your own thoughts every single day and noticing, okay, that thought's not feeling so good. That's just a thought. It's a sentence in my head. Like kind of being mindful of yourself in your own thought process.
Yeah, I try to practice that a little bit. I read Awake at Work. I'm trying to think of the author. John Carroll, I think, is his name. And he wrote a couple other books, and I read a mindfulness book, mindful meditation book. It didn't work out too good for me, though, because I took mindfulness and taking some time for myself and thinking about nothing, and just fell asleep in the yard and looked like I might have had a heart attack. So Amy came running out, wondering what was going on. I was like, "What?" I was meditating. She's like, "You're on the ground, sideways, snoring. You're out." Like, yeah,
that's good. Whatever works.
Fully relaxed state. Yeah, no, it's but I think it's important for all of us. But definitely, kids live such a fast-paced life. Like I had John Barata on Friday, who was the Easton Youth Soccer director, and we are talking about this. Like sports programs go year round. School programs are intense. There's so much work involved and there's so much stress involved with everything, that if we don't show kids how to take time for themselves to do nothing but to just kind of clear their heads and kind of think about what this is all about, then they're going to get too caught up in everything. And I think that's, that's part of one of the stress points. One of the things that I counter on what you're saying about the timing and everything, I think one of the greatest outcomes for this for kids is that they're getting to study on their own time, which is getting them to feel like what they want to be or where they want to be, and not so regimented. I think that school's so regimented now that they have this expectation, and it's not just that they go to school all day, then they come home and they do like 8 hours of homework. So then they get out, they get done with school, and they go, well, what am I supposed to do? I'm supposed to do work. Well, what was school? School was work. So then all of a sudden they're not, we talk about work-life balance. These kids are so out of whack. Like how do they balance anything? Like I listen to all of the work and stuff that they're doing. Our son goes to a different school, goes to a private school, and they practice with no homework. They practice with no, Common Core requirements and things like that. And it's a great program, and it's learning. It's not teaching, and it's development. It's not just, routine. And it's, and I think that what you're doing by the sounds of things is just like, it's so needed for every kid. Like I think every school should practice or have a program that involves a JoAnne. Is this something that's out there all over the place? Are you in high demand where you can't keep up with all the schools, or is this a relatively light?
Absolutely not, Josh.
Okay.
What happens is everybody loves it and wants it, but when it comes time to make a payment or, bring it into the budget, that has been probably my most difficult part. It's like I did a lot of marketing. This is the last, I've been really rolling this program out for 3 years. So it was to college students and to high school and to junior high. I don't really have an elementary program, but except for the meditation and yoga. So I did a lot of that, and it seemed like that was a barrier sometimes. So I don't know if I've got to learn a better way to market it, or I did a lot of things on my own privately where students would come to me privately. It wasn't in the schools, but I feel like there has to be a way for me to get it into the schools, and I maybe just haven't found it yet.
Well, I think there's a ton of different programs out there. And I think that I'm just listening to you and I'm sitting here going, well, you need to talk to a company like Gaggle, which I don't know if you're familiar with Gaggle, but that's a software technology company that actually finds or alerts administrators in schools for at-risk kids. They saved, I can't remember how many hundreds of kids from committing suicide last year.
Wow.
Based on messaging that they were putting through the schools. Computers. Is like, I'm sitting here saying, well, why wouldn't a program like that and someone like you partner together and say, okay, we're finding these challenges, these, at risk, challenged, troubled, whatever you want to call them, kids that have anxiety, stress, worry, uncertainty, fear. These things go, hey, let's call JoAnne and have her put some work in, or a group program. I mean, I think that this is, I say it all the time, and when I do my keynotes, it's like, I don't know all the numbers, but it's pretty safe for me to say that at least 1 in 3 people is dealing with something challenging. That includes kids, death, divorce, drugs, disease. It doesn't discriminate. So, and now with everything going on, that's 2 or 3 out of 3. Like everybody's challenged with it. So I would think that a program that you provide like that for kids especially would be highly sought after and in high demand. So keep an eye out. So even if you were social distancing and all this stuff going on right now, I mean, you can do it on Zoom and everything, but what are you doing to keep busy if you're not able to do schools? I did see, I'll just transition it to, I saw you doing something like a clearing of a house, I think is what you said it was, right? Is that another specialty you have?
Yes. So my dear friend Isabel Wilson, Isabel. She's a realtor here, and she's all over, but she is also based in Easton. So I just went to one of her homes this morning and did a clearing. Now, I've done energy work for the last 15 years. So there's a lot of things that I do. I believe we're all we're all energy. Everything's energy all around us. So I just do some intention setting. I work with the energy in the home, and I just cleared it, because in this particular home today, there was still some negative energy from not so much from the owners, but what happened to the previous owners, and then what's going on currently in the family that's taking over. So there was that energy there, and then just the energy of the home being closed up for a while. So there was just a lot of, just kind of brought in some light and just shifted the energy with some of the energy techniques that I know.
Is this a house that's for sale or a house that's sold?
It's going to be for sale. Yeah, she's going to be putting it on
So
the
like, so if this house sells like day one, you're going to be doing clearing of houses
Yes,
for every realtor in South Shore.
absolutely. Absolutely.
Oh, that's great. Well,
Yeah.
Isabel, listen, I know Isabel listens to the podcast. So Isabel, if the house sells fast, which I'm sure it will because it's been cleared, you gotta make sure that you get some more clearing business going. So you do speaking too. I mean, you speak to groups. I one of the things that really was kind of that caught me was every picture of you. I'm sure you know this, but almost every single picture I saw, whether I was homework on social media or on your website, you are always smiling.
Yeah,
And
I
it's not like a camera smile, right? It's not a camera smile. It's you can see you're happy.
yeah, I think I'm pretty happy, pretty much. The thing is too, Josh, for myself, I mean, all the things that I teach others and all the things that I have learned are based on like all the things I know to overcome for myself, those feelings of not being enough and those feelings of not understanding what life is all about and dealing with anxiety or all those things I've been through in my own experience. I've kind of feel like I've done a lot of work to help myself. And so that's really why I want to help others. And I want people to always know there's hope and that there's so much potential in each person. I feel like that's why I also have a thing for students, because I can see their potential. And back to what you said about your son, every student learns so differently. That's why it was really hard for me to work in a school system in a very standard way, because there's so much more to each student. Everybody needs something different. Everyone develops different, learns different. And I just want to be that person that says you are perfect. You need to just go forward it as you are, in your own unique skin.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's my own, I'm just recognizing this more and more now, that my own kind of, I would say, traumas from middle school, just like bullying stuff, feeling not enough, all that stuff is sort of something that has driven my, what I've learned and what I've kind of wanted to help others with, because I never want anyone to experience what I did back then. And I didn't even realize how deep those wounds were, probably until I have my own son now, and then see how that's what makes me anxious in the world now, is if anything happens to him. And, so
Mm-hmm.
I kind of just been putting this all together. But yeah, basically, I just want everyone in the world to be happy in their own unique skin. And if there's anything I can do to like help them get to that place, that's my job.
That's pretty cool. I was going to try not to get too detailed or too deep, but that was actually going to be my next question, which was like, one of the things that in seeing the pictures and just, I'm kind of a visual person trying to, you try to read people, as I'm sure you try to when you meet
Yeah.
them and engage with them, and when you creep on them to try to get backstories and understanding who they are. Your smile is like it's infectious on your posts and things that you put. You seem really happy, and it's hard for you to say, well, that person never probably had to go through anything or never had any difficulties or challenges. But I think people that do things like what you're trying to do are probably trying to prevent something that they had happen to them, i.e. bullying or whatever you had happening early on in your life that caused trauma and difficulty. Like, you don't want that pain. And like you say, the kids is what does it. The kids bring out everything. They bring out every story and thought and everything else. You go, wow, I didn't think that hurt, but man, it did. And it's been here and it's set up camp in my brain and won't leave.
Right.
And no, that's pretty cool stuff. I think that what you have going with your programming, I think that when all this stuff passes, I think you're going to be probably pretty busy, because I think that what I'm seeing is just everybody's really understanding how important our kids are,
Right.
which I think sometimes we forget that, how important our kids are, how resilient yet fragile they can be, and how much they need a little bit of direction, a little bit of help, and different in a different way, you
Yeah.
know, not in yelling and detention and all that other stuff, but in
Right.
love, hope, and giving them some direction of maybe some exercises of things to do, and considerations, because you got a long life to live, and you've never seen so much depression and sadness going around, and it's never been a better time to be alive, as my
Right.
friend David Cooks tells me and reminds me all the time. So
Mhm.
so how can people get a hold of you? Where can they find you? What are you doing? Are you doing anything on Zoom? So if somebody's got a child or a group of kids that they, want to de-stress, get rid of some anxiety, get some learning lessons, are you Zooming it, or
Zooming. Yes, I mean, I have some adults that I work with too. I do some online meditation classes. But I am trying to work on something. I feel like this is my problem right now, and you may relate. I feel like all the students, all the kids are over Zoomed now. It's
Mhm.
sort of been this whole new virtual experience, and I feel like it's tough. I tried to do a yoga class online, and I can see they're not there. So I'm trying to find a way to do something interactive yet brief, but that gets the message out to them. So that's what I'm really want to be creating, so that they can get it on their own. They don't even have to sit with a group or a class. They could watch it, feel it, and do it, and kind of get the experience of it. So I'm working on that right now to see how I could possibly bring that out to the students that need it.
Oh, you could do socially distant yoga or meditation out in the sheep pasture, or
Yeah,
borderland or someplace, and charge a few bucks and have some people come over and hang out 6 feet separate, and
yeah.
not have to shout too loud.
I do have I have last summer did a yoga and meditation kids camp here. I have a big backyard and it was perfect. It was outside. I was just talking about this, but I don't know. And I only have 10 kids, but I could even limit it to 6. But I'm going to have to kind of wait and see if I can run that. I'm hoping maybe in August.
Hmm.
And maybe I'd have some repeat students and maybe some new people would come for that too.
Yeah, June 29th. June,
Is that phase 3?
well, yeah, June 29th right now is phase 3.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
um, I actually am. It's the timing of all of this is amazing. So I'm actually, my fiance wanted to do the children's yoga meditation certification. So it
Yeah.
happened. It's in July. So I reached out to them a while back to ask them, what the cancellation. Everything's so weird right now. Like, some people are like, yeah, you pay it, too bad, so sad, and other people are like, we'll refund it, or we'll be able. So I was
Right.
asking them, situationally, what does July look like for you guys? If you have it, are you going to be able to Zoom it? Are you going to be able to do something? And their response was June 29th is hopefully the opening of phase 3. So phase 1 and phase 2 go well. Phase 3 will be effective June 29th, and phase 3 will allow group setting, learning, certification, training sessions. So
Good.
fingers crossed. I think that
Yeah, for sure.
uh, pretty optimistic. I mean, uh, optimistic and hopeful is the only way we can be with it. But yeah, I could see that'd be a great way for the kids to do some stuff in the summer and get themselves recentered and
Right.
get the get,
Definitely.
get their purpose back on. So you got 10 kids that you do and work with. You probably could do more sessions and more things. You obviously want to help more. So if someone's got a child out there, or an adult child, which happens to be what I put
Many I know, yes.
I put myself in that category on a regular basis. So if somebody wants to get a hold of you, do a session, maybe get a plan, get an idea, how do they get a hold of you? How do they follow you on,
Oh
what
yeah.
are your social media, all that fun stuff?
Yeah, my website is JoAnneWoodsYoung.com, and my Facebook page is JoAnne Woods Young. So they can find me in both of those places. I do a lot of lives on Facebook where I go and I'll do messages for people, affirmations, just kind of give people a little bit of light, something they need. So if you follow me over there, you can see that.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. And um, all of you're on Twitter.
Yep.
You're active on Twitter. I have Twitter, and I don't have a clue what I'm doing. So it's
Yeah,
it's on the bottom of the page, and it connects to some of my posts, but
that's
I
same
don't
for
tweet. Yeah.
no. That's what I do. I do
Um,
Facebook and then Instagram a little bit, but not too much.
and you're on LinkedIn
LinkedIn.
for the adults, for the professionals that want
Yeah,
to connect with you. So
exactly.
awesome. Well, this was a great learning lesson. I'm glad we got to know each other in a short amount of time. I got to tell you, this has been
Thank you.
one of the coolest things for me, as I share with you. I mean, my godmother being, Elaine Mahoney, and being born in this town and everything else. When I was born here, it was less than 5,000 residents. I mean, it was a sleepy, small community where everybody knew everybody. I told Condra from The Farmer's Daughter about the breakfast place that we used to go to was Nickelodeon, which is where El Mariachi is, which was a donut shop. Like there was no Dunkin' Donuts, no Honeydews. There was nothing. It was like, that was it.
Right.
And now we're, 25, 26,000 residents, a much different town, but still a wonderful town, still lots of open green spaces and H.H. Richardson buildings. And most importantly, great people. There's just more of them. And thankfully because of the connection with Easton Chamber of Commerce and Karen Newman putting all of these great people in my direction for the podcast, I've met some wonderful folks. So great to get to meet you. Great work that you're doing. Hopefully we can help you in spreading the word and getting some more interest, because like I said, kids are our future, and I hate to say it, I mean, the worst thing I hate listening to is, all of these riots and everything that's going on, that they're saying they're 18 to 30 year old males. And that's heartbreaking. Cause those guys, they're going to be pushing my wheelchair around someday, and I'm hoping they don't push it off a cliff. I know I'm going to be difficult, but we really got to make sure that our kids their mindsets are right and that they're doing the right thing. So, keep up the great work, and we'll post your website and all your connections and everything on the show notes and on the YouTube channel. And hopefully we help in a little way, but I know this is going to help someone out there in a big way for them to think about getting their mindset right. And we all need a little bit of that. So really appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you, Josh. And I hope that when this settles down, I'll be able to meet you in person at some local event also.
I have a feeling I'll be doing more of those. I hadn't done a single one until January, and now I have been keeping it local for the last almost 3 months. So, but it's fun. It's been a lot of fun. So we'll look forward to it. My beard probably won't be as long, but it might be, actually. I might keep it and look like Old Man Winter. So that will wrap up another episode. Keeping it local, be awesome. If you haven't figured it out, I do love my town. I love what's going on here. We all have different challenges and difficulties that we're going through, but I am just inspired at every story that I get to share with you, and hopefully you're getting something out of this. If you're not from Easton and you're listening to this and you like our town, hey, come on and pay us a visit when this thing's all over. It's said and done with. Chicken and waffles at the Farmer's Daughter, or honey hots at McGuire's, or a pepperoni pizza at the Villa. We can make that all happen. But really appreciate everybody listening. This is obviously tough 5 days for all of us. Tough to not watch the news. It's tough to not get caught up with the noise. I'll tell you what, if you follow one person through all of this difficulty, the Free Hug Project, this young man has been going out to events since the Boston Marathon 2014, and offering free hugs. He's got t-shirts that says free hugs. He's in Minneapolis right now. Follow his story. It's pretty inspirational and powerful. So Facebook Free Hugs Project. Make sure you connect and follow that. In the meantime, I got shirts. I got face coverings. You know where to find them. They're on the Be Awesome site. Reviews, ratings. I'm looking to get reviews and ratings up to 100 by the time we hit our 2-year anniversary on iTunes podcast. That's what gets me up there with Joe Rogan. I am only 128,946 reviews away from tying with him. No, ratings and reviews, views, downloads, subscribing to the podcast is what gets additional visibility outside of my network of people that are listening. So anything that you can do to help with that, as you know, if you do a rating and a review, you get a free t-shirt. You email me, josh@beawesome.com, and send me your name, address, and size, and I drop it in the mail next day. So try and keep together here, folks. This is going to be a tough couple days, weeks, months ahead, but we're in the final stages of this. We're in stage 5 of disaster, which is the crash phase. Looking for rebuild. Looking forward to it happening soon. So if you can be anything, be awesome.